The Vatican sealed this exorcism file for one reason. What you are hearing is not a story passed down through rumor. It is not folklore. It is not testimony shaped by fear or belief. It is a recording. A single reel, recovered from an archive that officially does not exist. Catalogued, logged, then locked away. No copies authorized. No transcripts approved. No public acknowledgement that the events ever occurred. The convent where this was recorded no longer appears on maps. Its name was removed from church records 3 weeks after the incident. The local parish was dissolved. The clergy reassigned. The land sold under a shell title. No explanation was given. The nun did not survive. Her medical report was amended twice. Her death certificate lists cardiac failure. The original cause was blacked out in permanent ink. Witness statements contradict each other. Timestamps do not align. Security footage ends 6 minutes early. Those 6 minutes were never recovered. The presiding priest refused to speak again. 2 assistants left religious life within a year. 1 was admitted to psychiatric care. 1 disappeared entirely. And the final entry in the file, the last line written by an archivist whose name has since been erased, contains only 5 words. The demon did. What you're about to hear was never meant to leave the convent. It was recorded for internal review only. For training. For containment. For warning. The audio you will hear has gaps. Moments removed by order. Moments damaged by age or by something else. What remains is enough. Enough to understand why the doors were sealed. Why the witnesses were silenced. Why the church, an institution built on confession, chose secrecy instead. Listen closely, because this recording does not end when the tape stops.
The location was chosen long before the incident. Not for beauty, not for history, for isolation. The convent stood deep inside a forest that had not been logged in over a century. 18th century stone, cold even in summer, accessible by a single road that narrowed into gravel, then mud, then nothing at all. There were no nearby towns, no farms, no regular foot traffic, just trees, dense, tall, close enough to block the sky at certain angles. Official records state the convent had been closed for renovations. Structural concerns, water damage, funding delays. That explanation satisfied the diocese. It satisfied the state. But supply manifests tell a different story. Bread deliveries continued. Wine shipments arrived monthly. Medical supplies were logged. Candles, salt, iron implements. Enough for occupation. Enough for ritual. Inside the convent, daily life followed strict routine. Prayer at dawn. Silence at meals. Manual labor in the afternoons. Lights out 9. No deviations were tolerated. Until Sister Maria Agnes. She arrived quietly. No ceremony. No recorded objections. Transferred from a larger convent after what was described as exhaustion of spirit. Her superiors described her as devout. Excessively obedient. Rarely spoke unless spoken to. Emotionally fragile, according to internal notes. Prone to long periods of withdrawal, but harmless. She had no disciplinary history, no violent behavior, no dilutions documented. She prayed often, but so did everyone else. The first change was small. She stopped sleeping. At first, the sisters assumed insomnia, night prayers, restlessness. But Sister Maria Agnes was observed kneeling in the chapel long after lights out, motionless, hands pressed flat against the stone floor. 2 hours, then 3, then entire nights. She did not sway. She did not slump. She did not collapse. Morning prayers found her still there. No complaints of fatigue followed. No visible trembling. No loss of coordination. That wasn't recorded in her file. The second change was harder to ignore. She began skipping meals, not refusing food, simply forgetting it existed. When reminded, she showed confusion, as if eating were an unfamiliar concept, as if hunger no longer registered. Medical staff were notified. Vitals were taken. Everything appeared normal. Her pulse steady. Her temperature unchanged. Her eyes, however, were noted as fixed. The third change occurred during confession. Sister Maria Agnes began speaking Latin, not liturgical phrases, not memorized prayers, full sentences, complex, structured, responsive. She answered questions in a language she had never been trained to speak. When corrected, she looked genuinely surprised, asked why they were repeating themselves. Her educational records were reviewed. No classical language training, no background studies. The priest dismissed it as subconscious absorption. Years of hearing Mass, a sensitive mind picking up patterns. That explanation remained official. But one detail was removed from the transcript. She spoke Latin only at night. The sisters did not report screaming. No alarms were raised. No bells rang, because she never screamed. Instead, witnesses describe a sound closer to breath passing through teeth. Low, measured, almost conversational. The sound traveled through walls, under doors, along corridors. It stopped when approached. Always. One novice claimed the sound addressed her by name. This statement was dismissed as stress-induced imagination. Another claimed the voice continued after Sister Maria Agnes was physically restrained. This statement was struck entirely. The convent log shows no incidents, no disturbances, no reason for concern. But there are gaps in the timestamps, hours unaccounted for, entire nights condensed into single lines. By the third week, Sister Maria Agnes no longer knelt facing the altar. She knelt facing the wall, her forehead pressed against the stone, her lips moving just enough to suggest speech. When asked who she was praying to, she answered politely, "I'm listening." That question and that answer do not appear in the official report. The sisters began locking their doors at night. This was against convent rules. No reason was written down. No permission requested. Still, no screams were ever heard. Only whispers and footsteps, moving when no one was walking. The request for an exorcism was filed on the 29th day. It was marked urgent. The request for an exorcism triggered protocol. Before approval, observation was required. Documentation, verification, patterns. What followed was recorded across 3 systems. Written logs, security cameras, audio monitoring installed inside the chapel and adjoining corridor. This is where the recordings stop making sense. The first refusal occurred during morning Mass. Sister Maria Agnes approached the altar as usual, kneeling, hands folded, head bowed. When the wafer was offered, she did not recoil. She did not resist. She simply remained still. The priest waited, then repeated the gesture. Sister Maria Agnes looked up. Witnesses say her expression showed confusion, not fear, as if she did not understand the object being presented. After several seconds, she spoke. "I cannot take what is unfinished." Those words do not appear in the Mass transcript. Communion was withdrawn. The service continued. At exactly 2:17 a.m. that night, Sister Maria Agnes was logged as awake. She was logged awake every night thereafter, always at 2:17. No variance, no delay, no early rising. The night log entries are identical, copied, pasted, initialed, as if written by someone who wanted consistency more than accuracy. The vomiting began 2 days later, always after prayer, never during meals. The substance was described as thick, dark, without odor. Medical examination identified no internal bleeding, no ruptures, no ulcers. The samples were disposed of before analysis. This decision was made without explanation. One nurse wrote a note in the margin of her report. This did not come from digestion. That note was crossed out. The bleeding followed, not from the chest, not from the feet, from the palms. But the wounds were wrong. No punctures, no tearing. The skin appeared blistered, charred at the edges, as if exposed to intense heat from within. Sister Maria Agnes showed no reaction to the pain. When asked how it happened, she examined her hands with interest. "These are restraints," she said. The attending physician recorded the statement, then struck it from the file. By this point, surveillance footage was reviewed. Security cameras positioned in the corridors functioned normally, until Sister Maria Agnes entered the frame. At those moments, the image warped. Contrast levels shifted, edges blurred, timestamps stuttered. In several instances, she appears to pause mid-step, her body frozen while the environment continues moving around her. The footage resumes with her already past the camera. No frames exist showing her leaving the frame. The chapel camera fails entirely. Every time she crosses the threshold, the feed drops to black. Audio monitoring shows the same pattern. Sound is clear. Footsteps, fabric, breathing, then silence. Not static, not distortion. Absence. Listen carefully to what she says next. During one monitored session, a microphone placed beneath the altar recorded a single phrase before cutting out. It was not directed outward. It was spoken downward. I am ready to continue. The response, if it can be called that, does not appear on the audio track, but the waveform spikes, as if something replied without sound. That night, a rule was introduced. It was handwritten, pinned to the notice board outside the chapel. No formal decree, no signature, just 4 words. Rule number 1, never pray alone with her. The rule was not explained. It did not need to be. Sisters began attending prayers in pairs, then groups of 3. No one volunteered to sit beside Sister Maria Agnes. When assigned, they complied without protest. But their written reflections changed. Shorter entries, shaky handwriting. One journal contains only a single line repeated across 3 pages. She knows when I stop listening. At 2:17 a.m. on the 41st night, the night log shows something different. Instead of awake, the entry reads, standing, no location given, no iniciales. The next line is written in a different hand, facing the door. There is no record of who wrote it. That same night, the chapel doors were found open. They had been locked. No damage to the hinges. No broken seals. Just open. Sister Maria Agnes was found kneeling inside, facing the altar, smiling. The request for an exorcism was approved the following morning. The approval came with conditions. Multiple clergy, medical staff present, recording mandatory, and one final addition to the rule set. Never allow her to finish a prayer. Father Lucien arrived before dawn. No announcement, no entourage, no visible concern. He had performed 17 recorded exorcisms across 3 dioceses. Cases involving convulsions, cases involving violence, cases involving prolonged restraint. This case did not impress him. He reviewed the files without comment, listened to the audio fragments once, watched the corrupted footage without asking for clarification. When asked if he believed Sister Maria Agnes was possessed, he answered calmly, "Belief is irrelevant." Father Lucien was known for skepticism. He rejected dramatics. He dismissed emotional testimony. He trusted structure, procedure, hierarchy. He insisted the first ritual be brief, controlled, non provocative. Medical staff were present. 2 senior sisters, 1 assistant priest. Recording devices were activated. At 2:16 a.m., 1 minute early, Sister Maria Agnes was escorted into the chapel. She walked without resistance, without restraint. Her hands were bandaged, her eyes open. She looked at Father Lucien and nodded, as if greeting a colleague. The ritual began with the opening prayer. Father Lucien spoke clearly. Measured pace, Latin precise. Sister Maria Agnes knelt. She listened. Then she joined in, not echoing, not responding, speaking ahead. She completed each line before Father Lucien reached the final word. Always half a second early. Always correct. He slowed his pace. She adjusted instantly. He skipped a line. She did not. She recited the omitted verse perfectly. That was not her voice. The audio confirms it. Her voice overlaps with itself. 2 tones, same pitch, different timing, as if recorded twice and played together. At the 7th invocation, the temperature dropped. 10 degrees in under 30 seconds. Breath became visible. Condensation formed on stone. Candles flickered but did not go out. Sister Maria Agnes exhaled slowly. Steam poured from her mouth. She smiled. The assistant priest stepped back. Father Lucien continued. He sprinkled holy water. The droplets did not reach her skin. They veered, curving midair. striking the floor beside her knees. Sister Maria Agnes laughed, not loudly, briefly, as if something inside her found confirmation. Then the voice changed. It did not raise volume. It lowered it. She spoke names. Sisters who had died decades earlier. Some from illness. Some from accidents. One from an unreported incident in 1893. The records confirm the names. Then she spoke another. Father Lucien's. Not his title. Not his chosen name. The one he had abandoned at age 9. She described a moment. A theft. A lie. A prayer never finished. Father Lucien paused. Exactly 3 seconds. That pause does not appear in his later testimony. He resumed the ritual. Commanding language now. Direct address. Sister Maria Agnes tilted her head. Listening. She answered. You are early, she said. The crucifix in Father Lucien's hand cracked. Not shattered. A clean fracture through the center. The candles went out. Not together. One by one. Left to right. No wind. No movement. The chapel fell into darkness. Recording devices continued running. The audio captures a sound resembling breath drawn inward. Not from the room, but from the walls. Father Lucien collapsed. Medical staff rushed forward. Sister Maria Agnes did not move. She waited, smiling. The ritual was terminated. Father Lucien regained consciousness minutes later. Disoriented, unable to stand. He refused to explain what he heard. He requested reassignment. Within the hour, a new rule was written. Pinned beneath the first. Rule number 2. If she smiles, stop the ritual immediately. No objections were raised. No one asked why. Because everyone in that room understood the same thing. The demon knew the rules, and it was letting them write new ones. The second attempt would not be brief. It would not be controlled, and it would not be early. After the first failed ritual, the church shifted strategy. No more confrontation. No more commands. They turned to paper. The convent's lower archive was reopened. Records that had not been touched in decades were unsealed. Ledgers bound in cracked leather. Handwritten incident logs. Personal journals never meant for review. What they found was not a history. It was a pattern. An incident dated 1893 appeared in the margin of a renovation ledger. No hitting. No formal report. Just a note written by a Mother Superior whose name no longer appears in official lineage. Another silence has taken root. The symptoms were familiar. A novice NUN. Quiet. Devout. Recently isolated due to extended vows. She stopped sleeping. She knelt for hours. She spoke words she had not learned. The same refusal of communion. The same dark fluid after prayer. The same burns on the hands. The outcome was listed as resolved. No burial record followed. The journal continues. An attempted rite. A priest whose name was later removed from diocesan records. A collapse. A cracked crucifix. And one line underlined twice. She smiled before we stopped. The file ends there. No cloche. No explanation. Just silence. The archivist compared dates. Every incident occurred during vows. Moments of seclusion. Extended prayer. Isolation framed as devotion. Always a nun. Never a priest. Never a layperson. Always someone who had willingly closed themselves off. The conclusion was uncomfortable. Whatever was happening did not force entry. It waited. The audio tapes were reviewed next. Not the chapel recordings. The failed ones. But the raw backups. Analog reels stored without labels. When isolated and slowed, a second sound emerged beneath the chanting. Not echo. Not reverberation. A whisper. Constant. Unchanging. It did not follow the rhythm of prayer. It followed breathing. When filtered, the phrase became clear. She invited me. It repeats 17 times. Always in the same tone. Always beneath a different voice. Pause the video. Count how many voices you hear. Most people report 2. Some report 3. None agree on the 4th. This discovery prompted a third rule. Written smaller than the others. As if hoping it would be overlooked. Rule number 3. Never ask the demon its name. The reason was historical. In the 1893 journal, one final entry had been scratched out. Ink pressed so hard it tore the page. Modern imaging revealed the words beneath. Where you call? Below it. written in a different hand. It answered. No name followed. Just a description, a shape, a role, a function. The description did not translate cleanly. 3 linguists were consulted. None agreed on the meaning. All refused further involvement. Soft whispering returns, layered, closer now. Despite the rule, curiosity persisted. Patterns invite completion. And someone, no one will claim responsibility, asked the question again. It happened during a review session, not a ritual, not prayer, just observation. Sister Maria Agnes was seated, bound for safety, calm. The question was spoken quietly. What should we call you? She looked up. The smile returned. They broke that rule. And the demon answered. Not with a name, with a correction. You already do. The recording cuts out immediately after. No static, no distortion, just absence. When audio resumes, Sister Maria Agnes is humming. A hymn no longer in use. One that was removed from liturgy in 1901. Because the final verse was never meant to be spoken aloud. The second exorcism was scheduled that same night. There would be no questions, only commands. And this time, the demon would not wait to be invited. By the time the second exorcism was approved, a detail surfaced that reframed everything that came before. It had been there from the beginning, ignored. The original request for an exorcism did not come from the Mother Superior. It did not come from the attending priest. It did not come from medical staff. It came from Sister Maria Agnes herself. Buried in intake paperwork was a signed statement. Clear handwriting, steady pressure. I am requesting immediate intervention. No symptoms listed. No acquiescence. Just one sentence beneath her signature. Please do not wait. This was never mentioned in testimony. Further review revealed more. Her fasting was voluntary. Not sudden. Not compulsive. Planned. Her isolation was requested months earlier. Framed as a desire for deeper devotion. Approved without suspicion. She had asked for the longest possible vow cycle. The furthest cell from the chapel entrance. The least amount of contact. She was not withdrawing. She was preparing. The hidden journal was discovered behind a false panel in her cell. Not concealed with care. As if it was meant to be found. Eventually, the entries were calm. Methodical. She wrote of dreams that did not feel like dreams. Of a presence that did not arrive, but uncovered itself. She believed the convent was already compromised. Her words, something has been speaking here longer than any of us. She did not describe possession. She described pressure, accumulation, a place where prayers gathered but never dispersed. She believed the chapel functioned like a chamber, not a sanctuary, a container. Her decision was deliberate. If it requires a mouth, she wrote, let be mine. She did not see herself as a victim. She used the word vessel, not metaphorically. Technically, she believed something was bound to the location, not the people, and that the rituals performed there were not expulsions. They were reinforcements. Every failed exorcism, every sealed file, strengthened the enclosure. She volunteered to draw it inward, to give it edges, limits. She wrote one final line, underlined 3 times. It cannot be sealed without consent. This reframed the second exorcism, because when the ritual resumed, Sister Maria Agnes did not resist. She cooperated. She corrected pronunciation when priests faltered. She knelt when instructed. She bowed before commands were issued. At one point, the presiding priest asked, against protocol, where the presence resided. The answer came immediately. I'm not inside her. The voice did not echo this time. It was singular. She's inside me. The temperature did not drop. The candles did not flicker. Nothing dramatic occurred. That was the most alarming part. Medical readings showed her heart rate stabilizing, her breathing even. For the first time since admission, she appeared at rest. The chant continued, backward, not audibly, but in the waveform, as if the sound itself had direction. One assistant priest whispered the realization aloud. The exorcism wasn't meant to save her. It was meant to seal something. The rule board was updated again. No number, just a sentence written smaller than the rest. If the vessel breaks, do not attempt recovery. The final ritual was scheduled at dawn. No recording authorization was granted. Despite this, one device remained active. and what it captured would ensure the convent was never reopened, because containment has a cost, and Sister Maria Agnes had already agreed to pay it. The Vatican intervened before sunrise. No press, no written announcement. 2 vehicles arrived without markings. From men exited. None wore clerical collars. They carried cases instead. This was a second exorcist team. Older, quieter. Their names do not appear in any public registry. They did not ask questions. They read the rules already posted, then added their own, written on a separate sheet, kept folded in a coat pocket. No unnecessary speech. No eye contact during the rite. No physical contact unless ordered. Silent observers were stationed along the walls of the chapel. They were instructed to watch, not intervene, even if instructed otherwise. Especially then. The ritual began at 5:41 a.m. No cameras were permitted. What follows comes from a single audio device concealed beneath the stone floor. Sister Maria Agnes was brought in barefoot, unbound. Her hands were unbandaged. The burns were gone. Her posture was straight, her breathing steady. She knelt, and for the first time, she began the prayer herself. She prayed for the priests, not generally, by name. She asked for steadiness in their hands, clarity in their thoughts, forgiveness for what they were about to witness. One observer later wrote that this was the moment he understood. An unspecified point in the ritual, there's a pause in the chanting. The audio does not record movement, but several observers describe the same detail in separate statements. Her shadow lifted before she did. It stretched upward along the wall, detached, delayed. When it settled back into place, the chanting resumed. No one looked directly at her again. The breaking point came quietly. A single priest, junior, assigned as support, removed his rosary. He later claimed his hand moved on its own, that the beads felt heavy, warm. The moment the rosary touched the floor, the reaction was immediate. Not screaming. Pressure. The sound on the tape compresses, as if the air itself is being pushed inward. The chanting fractured. Words repeated, collapsed into each other. Then the tone changed. Pleading. Not from Sister Maria Agnes. From something using her breath. Begging for continuation. For structure. For the prayer to be finished. One voice says, very clearly, "Do not leave me open." Sister Maria Agnes inhaled sharply. She resumed the prayer alone. Halfway through the final line, her voice faltered. There's a sound like fabric tearing. Then nothing. A flatline tone enters the recording. Steady. Unbroken. Medical staff confirmed death occurred instantly. No convulsions. No finalibres. Silence followed. Not reverent. Empty. No temperature change. No movement. The chant did not resume. After 7 minutes, the senior exorcist spoke one sentence. "It is contained." No one responded. Sister Maria Agnes was pronounced dead at 5:58 a.m. The body was not removed immediately. No one crossed the chapel threshold for 40 minutes. That should have been the end. The aftermath was efficient. Too efficient. Sister Maria Agnes was buried before nightfall. No headstone. No name. An unmarked grave at the edge of the forest, beyond consecrated ground. The location does not appear in burial registries. Coordinates were written once, then destroyed. The convent was sealed within 48 hours. Doors bolted, windows bricked. The chapel altar dismantled stone by stone. Renovation notices were posted again, then quietly removed. All personnel were reassigned. All witnesses sworn to silence. Files were classified under a designation used only 3 times in the last century. Containment failure, secondary success. No further explanation was offered. Weeks passed. The forest reclaimed a road. Supply deliveries stopped. The building returned to stillness. Except one device remained active. The audio recorder beneath the chapel floor. It had not been retrieved. No one remembers leaving it behind. No one signed off on its disposal. When technicians finally reviewed the signal, they found something impossible. The recorder was still running. Battery levels indicated no interruption. No power source identified. The tape contained hours of silence. Then days. Then, after Sister Maria Agnes had been buried, sound returned. A voice. Low. Measured. Not distorted. Not layered. Single. It did not speak to the room. There was no room left. It spoke forward. Into the recording. Into the mechanism itself. I'm still held. The voice pauses. Then corrects itself. I'm still holding. The analyst stopped the tape. Restarted it. The voice continued exactly where it left off, as if aware of the interruption. This is when the final truth emerged. The exorcism succeeded, but not in the way the church believed. The presence did not leave the convent. It did not dissipate. It did not vanish. It moved, transferred, contained within the only thing that remained open. The recording. Sound does not require walls. Prayer does not require stone. The chant unfinished. The plea unanswered. They needed a vessel, and they found one that could be copied, duplicated, played. The final log entry reads, "Do not destroy the tape," not as an instruction, as a warning, because every time this audio is played, the prayer resumes. Every pause invites continuation. Every listener provides attention. And attention, as Sister Maria Agnes understood, is consent. That's how you're hearing this. The convent was sealed. The grave was unmarked. But the containment was never buried. It was archived. And now, it's playing. The file does not end cleanly. It degrades. Technicians noted a final anomaly during review, something they could not catalog, only observe. When the audio is played during daylight hours, the waveform remains stable, flat in silence, predictable in speech. But at night, the waveform changes. Not louder, not distorted, denser, as if more information is being carried in the same space. Repeated tests confirmed it. Same file, same device, different response after midnight. No additional voices register on standard playback, but listeners report hearing them anyway. Not clearly, not consistently. Whispers that vanish when focused on. Words that dissolve when repeated aloud. Only one phrase appears in every report. Always faint. Always partial. I am still. The rest is never the same. Viewer comments began appearing within hours of the first internal screening. People describing pressure in the ears. A sense of being addressed rather than informed. Several mentioned pausing the video and hearing the whisper continue. Others claim the sound resumes only after the video is restarted, as if waiting. One report stands out. A listener claims the whisper aligned perfectly with their breathing. Inhale, pause, exhale, matched. If you're wearing headphones, do not adjust them. Do not raise the volume. Listen closely, not to the voice, to the space between it. The pause you keep expecting to end, that is where it settles, because the recording was never the container. You are. Sister Maria Agnes understood that. Her final prayer was not for deliverance, not for escape. She prayed it would stay contained. She never prayed for you.